Anyway, virginity. Is it a social construct, and is hookup culture the answer? Guys, I made a very controversial video. I truly made this very controversial video, and I got slammed. I got slammed on the internet by the weirdos, by the incels, by the men's that were like, ooh, she's run through. Ooh, she's a used car. Ooh, blah, blah, blah. But I did also have a lot of girls saying, thank you so much for talking about this. Thank you so much. Oh, it made my heart cry. So I feel like I have to make like a whole podcast episode on this. And honestly, I love making podcast episodes. So if you have any ideas of any videos you want me to do, please let me know, because I can yap and yap for hours. The problem is coming up with concepts to yap about. Anyway, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go back to the topic at hand, virginity. Is it a social construct, and is hookup culture the answer? I actually have had this conversation with so many of my friends of them truly being so scared about losing their worth as a woman as they add to their body count. It breaks my heart. It truly, truly, truly breaks my heart that women actually think that they can value their worth as a woman because of probably what men say or what society says, based on how many people they slept with. Because there is a history of trying to restrict a woman's sexual partners, a history that makes sense, a history that was like needed for a time period, but it's also like something that we can let go of. It is an outdated train of thinking, and I am about to tell you why. I think it always helps putting everything in historical perspective, because once you understand the root of where it comes from, it's a lot easier to let it go. Once upon a time, we were a society of hunters. We were a society of gatherers. In the most part, women were the gatherers and men were the hunters. Women would spend all day gathering the food, and they would actually bring in around 70% of the food production. Men would be out there hunting, which is a lot harder, and they would only bring around 30% of the food production process. Whoever was in charge of the food supply, whoever was in charge of the food production, was truly in charge of how society was run. This is truly one of the reasons why historians usually tend to say, before there was a patriarchy, there was a matriarchy. Good old days, right? No. Kidding. But then we went through a switch. We went through something that was called the agricultural revolution. People started to settle down in farms, in family units. Men started to go out there and started to be in charge of the food production. They were the ones out there tilling the fields, doing the hard labor. They were more built for that. And it made more sense for the women to stay at home, to rear the children, to literally create more of a workforce in order to go out there and help the husband. It's just logically how the roles started to be divided. In that, men were more in charge of the food production process, so they started to become more in charge of how society was organized. And there was a teeny tiny problem back in the day. A teeny tiny problem. There was no such thing as a paternity test. It's easy to see who the mom is. She's the one who gives birth. There's no such thing as a paternity test back in the day, so men were left with a true conundrum. How do we make sure that the kids that we're raising are indeed ours? How do we make sure? They started to come up with ideas such as adultery, such as virginity, concepts that historically were applied more to women than to men. The idea was to, in essence, get a girl before she's been with anybody else, so that you make sure that once she's knocked up, yeah, that kid is yours. Make sense? And these concepts started to be applied into religious doctrine, which was indeed how society was spread. If you look historically, so many different civilizations were obsessed with virgins. Okay, to the point it made actually no sense. You know? The Aztecs believed that avocados were so sexually charged that a virgin could not touch them. Only virgins could hold the sacred power of Vesta, the sacred fire of Vesta in ancient Rome. If the fire ever went out, that meant that the virgin was corrupted. That meant that the virgin did something that wasn't very virtuous, very, very virgin-like. And if she did that, oh baby, she was buried alive. Okay, there were severe punishments for losing your virginity. During the Middle Ages, it was believed that only virgins could tame unicorns. And in ancient Greece, it was believed that only virgins could feed certain snakes. Throughout many different time periods in many different regions of the world, through religious or some sort of doctrine about how society was organized, virgins were prized. Virgins were important. Virgins were sacred. Virgins were mystical, magical. Virgins were valued above all. Again, why were virgins valued above all? Because men honestly wanted to make sure that the kids that they were raising were theirs. Do you know what I mean? Like that was the logic behind it. And then it kind of spiraled out of control, which is what tends to happen a lot in history. I have a bone to pick because we are 2,000. Nope. Like 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many thousand years later we are, but yeah, we can let go of that train of thinking. Okay. We can recognize that train of thinking about valuing a woman based on her virginity, about valuing her based on her body count, we can let it go, okay? We don't actually need to do that. We don't need to restrict a woman's sexual partners because, again, the reason why we once did that was to make sure that the kids that they were actually raising were indeed theirs. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that anymore. We have evolved past that, and that is my main point of this video. Virginity is a construct. It is only important if you want to make it important. If you want to be a virgin because you think it's sacred, because you think it's powerful, because you only want to do it with the person that you love once you truly, truly love them, I love that for you. If you want to remain a virgin until you're in the sanctity of marriage, because honestly, that's what you feel is comfortable because of your religion, baby, go ahead and do it. If you want to remain a virgin because honestly you cannot find anyone fuckable, amen, sister. Amen. But just don't ever place your value on something that can be taken away. Your value of a woman has nothing to do with the amount of sexual partners that you have. Your value as a woman has nothing to do with the idea of virginity. Your value as a woman comes innately from you. Your value as a woman comes from your friendships, from your familial relations, from your ability to be intelligent, ability to be beautiful, ability to whatever you want. Your value as a woman is determined and set by you, and it should never be set by society. It should never be set by cringy little weird old men on the internet. So this is where you're going to get to my train of thought, my actual thinking. Up until now, I have not actually said anything controversial. I have said historical facts. You cannot fight me back and forth. You would literally be fighting something with scientific evidence that is backed. Now is where we're going to get to the point of contention. Now we're going to get to my personal thoughts, my personal feelings on the matter. This is where you can disagree. This is where you can say, no, Valeria, you're wrong. Okay? You want to go ahead? Do it now. Now is the time. Do I believe hookup culture is the answer? Kinda. No, I'm kidding. I don't actually believe hookup culture is the answer, but like if you want it to be the answer, sure. That's the wonderful, beautiful thing about free will, my loves. Free will allows you to live your life in a very different way than I will ever live mine. But if you were to ask me how I like to live my life, well, here you go. But no, I don't think hookup culture is the answer. I actually think hookup culture can be quite dangerous. Because I think something that happened historically for so long, we were so obsessed with virginity that we bolstered it and we thought it was important. And in the last couple of decades, for better or worse, now we do the exact opposite. Now, instead of prizing virginity as something that is sacred, something that is essential for something that is angelic, we now think it's uncool. We now think you are dirt. You are a loser. Actually, did you guys know in Japan, if you remained a virgin for too long, it was believed that you had a demon possessing your body. That's kind of how we see it today. Like, we see it as something icky. Like, oh my God, she's such a loser. There was a time not long ago, back in time, when I first got into college. It was me and a bunch of other girls, and we were all freaking out about our virginity, okay? We were all like, holy crap, we are losers. And so I saw a bunch of girls just kind of like scrolling on Tinder, find a random guy, go to their house, have sex, just so that they could get rid of it. Like, for them, it was like a title. They had a checklist. They were like, I just need to not be a virgin anymore. And here's the thing, a lot of them got traumatized. A lot of them got traumatized, and I understand why, because the thing is about this very specific act that I'm talking about, It's vulnerable. You, as a girl, are vulnerable. You are literally exchanging energies with somebody else. So if you feel comfortable with doing that with a stranger, oh, baby, go do your thing. I love that for you. If you don't force yourself. Do not ever force yourself because of what society says, because of what other people think. Your value does not come on your lack of partners, on how many partners you have. Your value as a person, I cannot state this enough, is innate, comes from within, is part of you, and has always existed within you. So this is where I think the damaging part of hookup culture comes in, where we have time and time again all these girls that feel like they just have to do it so like they're not like old school, so like they're not like traditional, so that they're like cool and trendy, but they're forcing themselves to do stuff that they don't actually want to do. Forcing themselves to like, oh yeah, like I slept with him, I didn't really want to, but like he paid for the date, so like isn't that what I'm supposed to do? The act itself is not a checklist. It's not something that you owe anyone at any point in time. Or yeah, I just slept with him because like I really wanted him to like me, and like I feel like this is the way I get to keep talking to him. If he doesn't want to talk to you, he doesn't want to get to know you as a person. Again, virginity only has the value if you want to give it the value. If you don't, that's also fine. But the act itself about losing your virginity is very important. It's very sacred, in my humble opinion, and it's not something I would just recommend giving away willy-nilly. Because you can end up being traumatized. For some girls it works, and if it does for you, love that for you. But just make sure that you always feel comfortable, you always feel safe, you always feel sound in whatever you're doing in life, especially in what I'm talking about. And here is where we get back into religion. This is one thing that I do think Buddhism warns about. I hate to say it, but the Bible says pretty well, okay? I'm not going to start spewing a sermon at you, but I do think a lot of religious doctrines talk about saving yourself till marriage for a very important reason, because spiritually, it can be very draining to be with a lot of people, I think. The act itself, you are exchanging energies. You're being vulnerable. You are taking someone else's energy and they are taking yours. And I think that this is what religions were trying to warn against. They were trying to say that going out and doing it with half the freaking village might not be the smartest thing in the book, because you are going to waste your own time. You're going to waste your own energy. You are going to waste yourself away. It is very time consuming. It is very energetically consuming. This is something that you should do with somebody that you love, with somebody that you trust, with someone that you want to actually create something with. And it doesn't actually have to be love or life or something like that. Like it could just be like fun times as well. But like it was just very much warning against having a lot of sexual partners, because energetically it can be a lot. That is how I saw it. In conclusion, people need to fuck off, okay? Today and age, we judge people for everything, and we judge women for every little thing, okay? There was a reason why historically we would value women based on their virtue, based on your virginity, based on your lack of bodies. It made sense. We get it. But also, that was at the dawn of freaking civilization. It is time to let that go. Judgment over something so minuscule, something so unimportant does not matter. I'm not saying you have to add bodies if you don't want to. I'm saying you know what's best for you. But if you are ever with a guy that judges your worth based on something so primal, based on something so primitive, tell him to fuck off, because you don't want to be with a primitive man. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be with a caveman. We're past that. You want someone who loves and values you as a person. And the same thing. If it's because of your lack of bodies, because you have zero, okay, who cares? Like, truly, who cares? Only you know what's best for you. Never pressure yourself to do something that you don't want to do, whether it be because of dirty old stinky men, or whether it be because of a random teenage boy in class, or whether it be because of society itself. Your value as a woman is innate. Your value as a woman exists within you. It cannot be taken away by something so willy-nilly. It can be taken away from you being a judgmental bitch, so I don't recommend judging others if you don't want to be judged yourself. And I'm saying this as a reformed bitch, okay? I don't want, my biggest fear in life is like people are going to come back and be like, Why do you think like that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, you used to say this in high school. Yeah, I was an idiot. I actually told my friend that I was an idiot. See, I'm making this whole podcast because I've reformed my views, but I actually I told my friend that she wasn't allowed to have sex with her boyfriend in high school, which she didn't for like 4 years, because I said this and she just really valued whatever I had to say. And I was like, no, then we can't be like we would try moving stuff with our minds when we were little. Like we would try doing like telekinesis, and I'd be like, we're going to lose the ability to do that, you know? Virgins are magical. Like, we need to remain being magical. Fuck off, man. I should have fucked off. But that's why I could make this podcast, because I've been reformed. I have been educated. I have learned. And so I hope that other people will learn. Because you're valuable as a human being, and I love you. Okay, goodbye. Let me know if there's any other podcast episodes you want me to do, because I do struggle to come up with ideas, but truly, I can yap and yap for hours.